August 17, 1967. Western flank of War Zone C, Tay Ninh Province, South Vietnam. 06:05 hours. Dawn has barely cracked open over the canopy when Specialist Eli Mercer, 25th Infantry Division, wipes a sheet of sweat from his eyebrows and steps into the clearing the way a man steps into an oven. The jungle around him hisses with life, cicadas screaming, humid air pressing against his skin like a wet tarp, and the unmistakable sour smell of red clay baking under the rising sun. His boots sink slightly into the mud as he lifts the first tool of the day, a compact U.S.-issued entrenching shovel. Just behind him, the rest of his squad filters into the space between two clusters of bamboo. They move with a strange mixture of caution and routine, as if they're building something ordinary in a place designed for anything but that. Their task is anything but ordinary. Today, out here on the edge of enemy territory, they are going to build a fighting position inspired by the very people hunting them, a position modeled after Viet Cong tunnel entrances and a classic spider hole. It's an unsettling assignment, even if no one says it out loud. Staff Sergeant Robert Keene, the squad leader, steps forward with a grease pencil map tucked under his arm. He crouches, opens it on the ground, and places a rock on each corner so the jungle's exhale doesn't blow it away. "Listen up," Keene says, voice low but firm. "Battalion wants us testing a hybrid position, something Charlie would dig but adapted for us. Tunnel entrance here, spider hole facing north, overwatch pit here. We need this operational before sundown." He taps each location on the dirt with a gloved finger. Each tap draws the men closer. Private First Class Luis Aranda, lean and wiry with a mop of dark hair stuck to his forehead, mutters under his breath, "So, we're building a VC hideout to fight the VC?" Keene doesn't look up. Command wants to understand how these things work from the inside. If nothing else, we'll know what to look for next time we're sweeping a hamlet. No one argues. They all know the truth. The Viet Cong fought the land, the Americans fought the enemy, and out here, the land usually won. Mercer kneels beside a patch of tall, coarse elephant grass and drives the shovel into the ground. The first chunk of soil comes up heavy, wet, sticky, clinging to the metal blade. Red-brown earth, the lifeblood of VC construction. It smells like iron and rain. Behind him, Specialist Tom Weaver, the team's radio operator, adjusts the long whip antenna on his PRC-25. He scans the tree line, uneasy. The jungle is too still, too watchful. "You feel that?" he murmurs. Mercer nods without looking up. "Yeah, like the trees are waiting for something." They keep digging. As the ground begins to shape by 0700, the basic outline of the fighting position emerges like a giant shallow bowl carved into the earth. The men dig in rotating pairs, backs bent, fingers muddy, sweat dripping off their chins. Every few minutes, someone stops to fan away a cloud of mosquitoes thick enough to be visible. Keene circles the perimeter, inspecting depth and angles. "Make the entrance narrow, real narrow," he says. "Charlie doesn't waste space. Lower the roof. Add crossbeams. We want it to feel like they're tunnels." The irony hits everyone at once. The Viet Cong didn't just build tunnels, they built survival systems, networks that breathed, hid, fed, moved, and killed. Americans stumbled through the jungle on foot. The VC moved under it like ghosts. Aranda wipes his hands on his trousers. "Sergeant, you ever been inside one?" Keene's jaw tenses. "Once, near Puoc Vinh. They sent a tunnel rat in first. He found a trap. I don't go in anymore." Silence settles like dust. For a moment, the jungle sounds different, quieter, as if listening. Zub in the spider hole. At 0745, Mercer and Aranda move to the northern edge of the clearing where a fresh patch of earth waits to become something far more sinister. A spider hole, a small, coffin-tight space used by VC lone fighters to ambush patrols at point-blank range. Most Americans only ever saw them right before someone exploded out of one. Now Mercer is building one. He digs a shaft barely wide enough for a crouched man, reinforced on the sides with cut bamboo poles stacked like bones. Aranda shapes the lid, a disk of woven foliage and clay meant to look indistinguishable from the ground. "This is the part that creeps me out," Aranda says. Mercer forces a smile. "Just remember, we'll be the ones inside this time." "Yeah," Aranda mutters, that's the creepy part." A voice in the trees. Then, just after 800, Weaver stiffens behind the radio. "Sergeant, hold up." Keene marches over. "What is it?" Weaver keeps his eyes on the trees. "Thought I saw movement." Everyone freezes. Even the jungle seems to inhale. The men grip their shovels like weapons. The radio crackles once. A distant branch snaps. Keene raises a closed fist, the signal to hold. Mercer's heartbeat thunders in his ears. Then, silence. Nothing moves. After 20 long seconds, Keene lowers his fist. "Stay sharp. Keep working." But every man now digs with the lingering awareness that the enemy they are imitating might be less than 50 yards away, watching with quiet amusement as Americans recreate their own traps. The ground grows deeper. The walls take shape. The tunnel mouth narrows. By mid-morning, the jungle has claimed the clearing again, heat, sweat, mud, tools, breath, and tension blending into a single grinding rhythm. And beneath it all, the first shadow of the tunnel begins to form. 9:50 hours. The clearing is now a skeletal construction site carved out of jungle muscle. Every man is soaked, their uniforms 2 tones darker from sweat, clay, and contact with the unforgiving soil. The unfinished tunnel mouth yawns like a wound in the ground framed with cut bamboo, palm leaves, and packed earth. Specialist Eli Mercer kneels beside it, scraping the last clump of clay off the lip with the edge of his entrenching tool. The opening is barely 2 feet high, just wide enough for a man to crawl through on elbows and forearms, exactly how the Viet Cong built them. Staff Sergeant Keene crouches next to the entrance and runs his hand along the roof beam, a thick cut of bamboo braced by smaller crossbars. "Good. Tight. Reinforce the back end with 2 more beams before you dig farther. We're shaping a straight crawl tube, about 6 feet. Then a right angle turn." Mercer nods. "To break line of sight?" Keene taps the tunnel wall. "To break bullets?" A few of the men exchange uneasy glances. Behind them, Weaver keeps his PRC-25 against his chest like a shield. Every sound in the trees draws his eyes, every rustle, every shift of wind. The morning feels heavier now, as if the jungle is closing in by inches. Entering the unknown, Mercer takes a breath, drops onto his belly, and crawls halfway into the opening. The world instantly changes. The air cools. The smell dampens. Sound flattens. In the tunnel, the heat becomes a weight. Trapped, stale, unmoving. His helmet scrapes the top beams. His elbows drag through clay so wet it sticks to his sleeves like grease. Aranda crouches behind him. "You good, Eli?" "Yeah, just feels wrong being in here." Keene leans down. "Welcome to Charlie's living room." Mercer keeps crawling until the shaft tightens around his ribs. It's not even fully built, but it already feels like a burial chamber. He backs out quickly, coughing, wiping a streak of red mud across his face. Aranda gives him a sympathetic smirk. "Tunnel rat life ain't for me either." "No," Mercer says. "I like breathing too much." The building like the enemy. By 10:30 hours, the squad divides again. Mercer and Aranda continue carving the forward crawl space. Weaver and Private Grant Telford cut bamboo for roof segments. Corporal James Nolan digs the sump pit. VC tunnels often had them to drain seasonal floodwater. Keene oversees everything, measuring, adjusting, imagining how the Viet Cong would solve each structural problem. But even as they build, the reality creeps into every movement. This is not American engineering. This is enemy logic, enemy design, enemy psychology. Aranda holds up a length of bamboo. "You think they ever imagined Americans would copy this?" Keene laughs once, dry, humorless. "I think they'd find it hilarious, right before shooting at us." They work faster. Every shovel stroke adds detail to a structure that doesn't belong to them. Every packed wall makes them understand the enemy a bit more, and every inch of darkness carved into the ground whispers the same truth. The Americans fought above. The Viet Cong lived below. The spider hole. Lit at the northern edge of the clearing, Telford kneels over the spider hole lid, the camouflage disc designed to look like unbroken ground. He smears wet clay onto woven palm fronds, then presses scrambled vegetation and elephant grass into it, shaping it to match the exact pattern around the hole. The jungle is precise. If a single blade of grass looks wrong, the Viet Cong know. If a color doesn't match, they know. If the mud dries at the wrong angle, they know. Telford tries to mimic nature's randomness. Aranda walks over and whistles. "Man, that looks real!" Telford grins. "Step back and tell me which patch is the hole." Aranda steps back, looks, squints, then shakes his head. "Okay, that's freaky." The jungle reminds them where they are. At 11:20 hours, as the men prepare to extend the tunnel's right-angle turn, the jungle interrupts their focus. A muffled thud. Not close, but not far either. Weaver lifts the radio immediately. "That was artillery or—" Keene raises a hand. Every man stops. They listen. Another thud, this one sharper. Mortar, maybe 800 yards off. Then the distant pop of small arms. Controlled, spaced. Not a firefight yet, but contact somewhere nearby. Keene mutters, "Probably our recon platoon pushing a hamlet?" He waits another 10 seconds. The sounds fade. The jungle breathes again. "Back to work," he orders. "Double time." But the interruption leaves a cold bite against everyone's spine. They are building an imitation of the enemy's home while the real enemy moves somewhere in the same thick green maze. And for a moment, every man feels watched. The first internal chamber. By early afternoon, the right turn of the tunnel emerges and the men begin shaping a small internal cavity. A chamber barely big enough for 2 men to crouch. Mercer wipes sweat from his eyes. "Charlie's whole world was like this?" Keene nods. They had kitchens, medic rooms, weapon caches, living quarters, whole underground cities. "Cities," Mercer repeats, staring at the dark hole. "And here we are, celebrating a 5-foot tube." Keene smiles faintly. "We're tourists, Eli. They were architects." As the chamber wall takes shape, Mercer crawls inside again. It is barely complete, but even now it feels like a coffin with a heartbeat that belongs to someone else. By 1400 hours, the structure is starting to resemble a real Viet Cong defensive point, tight, dark, deadly. But something else is beginning to. A feeling, a shift, a sense that they are no longer alone. And as the men step back to observe their work, the jungle finally stirs. 1418 hours. The sun stands high above the canopy, but barely any of its light reaches the clearing. The jungle acts like a lid, trapping the heat, trapping the humidity, and now, trapping something else entirely. A feeling, a heaviness, as if the air itself has begun to watch them. Specialist Eli Mercer notices it first. He's standing near the spider hole, wiping clay off his hands when he freezes, not because of a sound, but because of the absence of one. The cicadas have gone silent. Aranda notices too. "Why'd it get quiet?" Keene hears and immediately stiffens. The jungle only falls silent for 2 reasons: weather or men. And the sky above is clean, no rain coming. Keene raises a fist. The digging stops. Breathing slows. Every man turns toward the tree line. The silence thickens, stretching so long that even the squad's heartbeat seems loud. Then a faint metallic click, a rifle safety. Not American. Keene whispers, "Positions now." Improvised defense in an unfinished fortification, the squad spreads instantly, almost instinctively. Aranda and Mercer move behind the half-built fighting pit. Telford crawls toward the spider hole, pushing the camouflaged lid aside. Weaver drops to his knees, antenna low, clutching the PRC-25 mic. Nolan and Keene take the western flank. They don't know how many VC are out there. Could be 2. Could be 20. Could be an entire platoon ghosting between the trees. The irony is cruel. They were building a Viet Cong position. Now they may have to defend it like Viet Cong. Mercer feels his pulse thudding in his throat. "Sergeant," he whispers, "they saw us digging?" "Maybe. Maybe they've been watching us all morning." Aranda curses under his breath. "Great. We're building their stuff on their land. Of course they're watching." Keene signals everyone to stay low. Weaver's voice comes sharp and quiet. "Should I call battalion?" Keene shakes his head. "Not unless they fire. Last thing we need is a stray artillery round dropping on our own damn heads." As the first shape moves, Mercer peers through a gap in the foliage. Nothing. Then, a shape. A human silhouette barely visible through layers of vines and branches. A conical helmet, non-tai bao, the classic Viet Cong hat, bobs between 2 tree trunks. Another shape appears behind it, then a third. Aranda whispers, "They're flanking." Keene's voice is low, firm, unshaken. "Hold." They don't know our numbers yet. But Mercer understands something chilling. The VC weren't charging. They weren't panicking. They weren't even particularly cautious. They were curious. Why are Americans digging a tunnel? Why are Americans shaping a spider hole? What game is this? The squad feels like intruders in a museum of traps, and the owners have come home. A whisper in the dirt. Telford, half hidden beside the spider hole, grips his M16 so tight his knuckles turn pale. He leans in close to Mercer. If this goes bad, I dive in, right? Into the spider hole? Mercer asks. Telford nods. Yeah. Mercer grimaces. You sure you can fit? Nope. They both swallow hard, because if the VC decide to attack, the spider hole might be the only cover they have that's actually finished, and it wasn't even built for them. The waiting game. 5 minutes pass, then 10. The VC shapes drift in and out of view, never close, never far, always watching, always shifting, not enough to provoke a firefight, but enough to remind the Americans of something ancient. The jungle belongs to whoever fears it least. Keene finally gestures silently to the men to resume work, but quietly. The squad nods reluctantly. They resume digging with careful, soft strokes, each man glancing over his shoulder every few seconds. Weaver whispers as he passes Mercer, "This is insane." Mercer nods. "Welcome to Vietnam." An unexpected discovery. At 15:02 hours, Aranda's shovel strikes something that isn't dirt. Clunk. A hollow wooden clunk. He freezes. Mercer steps beside him. What the hell was that? Aranda brushes soil away with trembling fingers. Bamboo, but not their bamboo. Old bamboo, weathered, cut purposefully, arranged in a flat panel, a buried trapdoor. The breath leaves Mercer's chest. "Oh, no." Keene rushes over. "Report." Aranda points. "Sarge, we didn't build this, someone else did." Keene kneels and inspects the panel. His face tightens. This area was supposed to be cleared last month. Either intel was wrong, or Charlie rebuilt something after. Weaver scans the jungle again. "Sarge, we're standing on their front porch." Keene doesn't deny it. He brushes away more soil from the bamboo lid. The diagonal lashings are unmistakably Viet Cong craftsmanship. Not only had the squad been watched, they had been digging on top of an actual VC tunnel. Worse, it might still be active. And everything changes. Keene stands and signals. Back off. Fan out. Weapons ready. Every man obeys instantly. The difficulty of building an imitation Viet Cong position suddenly vanishes compared to the danger of disturbing a real one. Mercer feels a tremor of panic rise in his throat. "Sarge, if there's someone under there..." "Then they already heard us," Keene says calmly. Silence falls again. But now, it feels different. Heavier. Close. Like something beneath the ground itself has begun to listen. Because the Americans aren't building anymore, they're trespassing. And the owners might open the door at any moment. 1506 hours. The squad forms a wide semicircle around the exposed bamboo panel, weapons held tight, breaths shallow, minds accelerating through every worst-case scenario they've ever been briefed on. Specialist Eli Mercer feels a bead of sweat run from his temple down to his jawline and drop silently onto the dirt. It vanishes instantly into the clay, swallowed by the ground like everything else that touches Vietnam. Aranda whispers, barely audible. "Sarge, what's the call?" Keene stares at the panel the way a bomb technician stares at something with no manual and no guarantee of survival. "First, we check if it's rigged." He pulls out his bayonet and kneels, examining the edges of the bamboo lid without touching them. The men behind him hold their breath. No wires, no trip latch, no punji stake release, no pressure trigger. But this is the Viet Cong. They often hid the trap under the trap. Keene gestures to Nolan. "Probe the right side. Slow." Nolan swallows and kneels. He uses a slender stick, 3 feet long, sharpened on one end, to probe beneath the bamboo lid. The stick slides under with no resistance, no pressure plate, no pitfall, no instantly grisly surprise. After 10 long seconds, Nolan nods. "Feels clean." Keene exhales. "Then we lift it." The door opens. Aranda and Mercer crouch opposite each other, their fingers hook under the bamboo panel. Keen raises 2 fingers. 1, 2. They lift. The bamboo comes up stiff, sticky with years of compressed mud, roots, and dead leaf matter. The underside is damp and dark. Beneath it, a hole, a perfect square of blackness, no ladder, just a vertical drop into a void of stale air. Weaver instinctively steps back. Nope. No. No, thank you. Hard pass. Keen leans forward, his face inches from the opening. The air rising from the hole smells like old sweat, mildew, damp clay, and something older. A stale human scent, the kind left by someone who lived down there, fought down there, bled down there. Mercer whispers, "You think it's abandoned?" Keen doesn't answer, because at that moment, a faint sound comes from below. A breath, a shift, a footstep, a whisper. Every rifle lifts as one. Keen's voice drops to a harsh whisper. "Hold your fire. If someone's down there, they know we're here." Aranda's eyes widen. "So, what do?" "We do what tunnel rats do," Keen says. "We check it." Choosing the descent, everyone's head swivels toward him. Telford stares at the hole like it's the mouth of hell. "Sarge, you're not serious." Keen nods slowly. "We need to know if this tunnel is active. If it is, this entire position is compromised. If we build on top of it, they can come up under us at night, take us in our sleep." No one wants to admit he's right. Mercer wipes his hands on his trousers, smearing mud across his thighs. "Who goes down?" Keen looks at the group. Weaver shakes his head instantly. Telford suddenly becomes deeply interested in a patch of grass. Nolan pretends to adjust his rifle. Finally, Aranda sighs. "I'll do it." Mercer grabs his arm. "Luis, you don't have to." "Someone's gotta." But Keen shakes his head. "No, I go first." Every man freezes. Aranda blinks. "Sarge, that's insane." Keen's face hardens. "I've done it before. You haven't." Mercer starts to protest. "But that's an order." Silence crashes into the clearing. Preparing for the descent, Keen sets his rifle aside, it's too long for the tunnel, and holsters his .45. He takes a red-lensed flashlight from Nolan and wraps a cloth around the lens to dim it further. A bright beam underground is a death sentence. It blinds the user and tells the enemy exactly where to shoot. Weaver whispers, "Sarge, if someone's down there." "If someone's down there," Keen says, "they're hearing everything we say right now." That shuts everyone up. Keen crouches, boots on the edge of the hole, grips one side with his hands and lowers himself inch by inch. His boots scrape the dirt walls as his body drops into darkness. The squad hovers above like specters holding their breath. Mercer whispers, "He's gone!" But Keen's voice floats upward, calm, steady, practiced. "Tunnel's narrow, 2 feet wide, smells old, no recent foot traffic, no airflow." Aranda leans over. "Sarge, you okay?" Silence, a long one. Then, "There's something carved into the wall." The men exchange glances. "What is it?" Mercer whispers. Another stretch of silence. Then Keen speaks again, voice lower now. "I don't know, but it wasn't carved by Americans." The jungle seems to lean closer. Weaver clutches his radio like a lifeline. Telford grips his rifle with both hands. Aranda swallows hard. Mercer feels the hairs rise on the back of his neck. Because in that moment, every man realizes this was never an abandoned tunnel. Someone made this recently, someone used it, and someone might still be down there. A faint sound rises from the darkness, something shifting deeper inside the tunnel. Keen whispers, "Hold position, something's moving down here." And just like that, everything in the clearing stops breathing. 14 hours. The clearing above is silent, too silent. No cicadas, no birds, no breeze, only the faint hiss of human breath as the squad remains frozen around the tunnel entrance, all eyes locked on the square of black earth that swallowed Staff Sergeant Keen. The jungle stands still, listening. And beneath the ground, Keen listens too. His voice rises slowly from the darkness, tight, controlled, but carrying the unmistakable edge of danger. "Something's moving down here, 30 feet ahead. Stay sharp." Aranda instinctively raises his rifle toward the hole. Telford steps back, fear tightening his jaw. Mercer leans over the edge, whispering down, "Sarge, what do you see?" Silence, then a faint scraping sound, Not metal, not boots, something softer, dragging across the tunnel floor. Keen exhales through his teeth. It's not an animal. A chill runs down Mercer's spine. Because if it isn't an animal, it's a human. Inside the darkness, Keen inches forward, crouched so low that his back scrapes the bamboo roof. The red-lensed flashlight casts a muted, blood-colored glow over the tunnel walls. The carvings he noticed earlier stand out now, etched symbols, deep grooves forming patterns that look like tally marks or maybe directional signs. Marks of habitation, marks of routine, as if someone used this tunnel often enough to give themselves navigation cues in the dark. Keen whispers, barely audible. This tunnel's not abandoned. Someone lived down here recently. Behind him, the scrape comes again. Closer. Keen freezes, holding his breath. The tunnel around him feels alive, like a throat that could close on him at any moment. He grips his .45, thumb resting on the safety. Another scrape, then a faint exhale. Someone is breathing just ahead of him, but it's not the deep, steady breath of someone calm. It's ragged, weak, pained. Keen inches forward another foot, then he sees it. A foot, a bare one, caked in clay, the sole cracked, toes curled. A leg extends from it, motionless except for a twitch at the ankle. A man lies face down in the tunnel. A Viet Cong fighter, alive, barely. Keen moves the flashlight an inch higher. The man's back rises and falls shallowly. His shirt is torn, stained with dirt, sweat, and what looks like old blood. His ribs show. He's thin. Dangerously thin. Keen whispers into the radio mic on his chest. I've got a wounded VC fighter, possibly unconscious. Doesn't look like he's moving to attack. Above ground, Weaver stiffens. A live one? Alive, Keen repeats, but hurt. Bad. The squad reacts. In the clearing, the men exchange shocked glances. Telford whispers, Why would a wounded VC be alone down there? Mercer answers without looking away from the hole. Maybe he's hiding. Aranda shakes his head. Or maybe he's waiting to ambush. Weaver interjects, voice tense. Should we extract the sergeant? Mercer shakes his head quickly. If we pull him out now, whatever's down there might hear us. Or trap the hole. Aranda glances toward the tree line, scanning for movement. The jungle is still watching. Keen makes contact below ground. Keen crouches beside the wounded fighter. He keeps his pistol trained on the man's torso, but softens his flashlight beam even further. The fighter's breathing is ragged, wet, almost rattling. This isn't a man waiting to ambush. This is a man dying. Keen checks the man's arm. It's thin as a broomstick, muscle-wasted. The skin is hot, fever, infection, dehydration. This man didn't end up here by accident. Keen leans closer, whispering, Hey! Can you hear me? The fighter twitches. Not violently, just a reflex like a man drifting in and out of consciousness. Then his fingers move. He points, not at Keen, not at the tunnel entrance, forward, deeper into the tunnel. Keen's stomach tightens. You're pointing at something. What is it? The man tries to speak, but only a dry rasp escapes. Then Keen hears it. Another sound, a faint shifting deeper in the tunnel. A second presence. Keen whispers urgently into the mic, I am not alone down here. The clearing tightens above. Aranda snaps his rifle upward. Movement on the east tree line, Telford spins. I see it! Mercer drops beside the tunnel entrance, aiming outwards. Weaver mutters, We're surrounded! Jesus Christ! We're surrounded! Nolan whispers, We dig on their land. And now they're waking up. The jungle rustles with subtle, controlled motion, as if multiple people are repositioning quietly. The enemy above, the enemy below, and the Americans are caught in the middle, halfway through building a fort designed by the very people preparing to strike. Keen's decision. Inside the tunnel, Keen knows he has seconds, maybe less, to act. If the second presence in the tunnel is hostile, he can't crawl backward fast enough to escape. He has only two choices: retreat blind into the men above him, or move forward into whatever waits deeper inside. He does neither. He stays exactly where he is, because moving means noise. Noise means death. He whispers into the mic, Do not fire unless fired upon. Repeat, hold positions. Then the sound ahead shifts again. Closer. Someone is crawling toward him. Keen raises his .45. His finger rests on the trigger, hand steady. The tunnel air thickens. The breath of the wounded man rattles once more. The jungle above goes silent again. And the next sound, to come out of the darkness, determines whether the entire squad survives the next minute. 15:19 hours. Keen's finger rests lightly on the .45's trigger as the sound from the darkness grows closer. Slow, deliberate shuffling on elbows and knees. Whoever is approaching knows the tunnel well. Whoever is approaching is not afraid of the dark. The wounded VC fighter beside him struggles for breath, one hand still weakly pointing forward as if trying to warn him. Keen lowers his breathing, letting his heartbeat become silent enough to hear everything. The second presence stops, a whisper, soft, rapid, Vietnamese. Keen doesn't speak the language, but he knows a frightened voice when he hears one. The figure ahead whispers again, this time more desperate. Then another sound joins it, a whimper, a child's whimper. Keen freezes. Below ground, the truth emerges. He inches the flashlight forward, the red glow crawling across the tunnel walls. The crawling figure comes into view, not a fighter, not an ambusher, a girl, maybe 11, maybe 12, barefoot, thin as rope, eyes enormous in the red light, glowing with panic. Her hands tremble, her breathing stutters. Her clothes are rags, dirty, torn, soaked in the underground humidity. She stops when she sees the pistol. Her entire body goes rigid. Keen whispers, "Hey, easy. I'm not here to hurt you." She doesn't understand the words, but she understands the tone. Her eyes flick to the wounded fighter lying behind Keen, her father, uncle, brother. Nobody knows. But the fear in her face shifts instantly into anguish. She reaches for him. Keen blocks the reach with his free hand. No sudden movements. Her hands tremble harder. She whispers urgently in Vietnamese, voice cracking, trying to wake the wounded man. The man stirs weakly, his fingers twitching. Keen realizes instantly. They weren't here to ambush. They weren't scouts. They were hiding, surviving, running underground from someone or something else. The VC guerrilla wasn't lying in wait. He was dying in front of his child. Keen whispers into his mic, "I've got a civilian, young. She's not a threat." Above ground, Mercer's eyes widen. "A kid? In a tunnel?" Telford mutters, "What the hell?" Above ground, a line drawn in leaves. But before anyone can process what's happening below, Aranda stiffens. Movement, multiple shapes. The east tree line ripples. 5 silhouettes appear, barely visible between the foliage. Weapons drawn, faces hidden under shadow, moving like men who have spent their lives fighting inside these trees. Mercer whispers, "VC squad, definitely VC squad." Weaver's voice trembles. "They knew the tunnel was here. They knew their people were inside." Nolan answers quietly, "And they think we're the ones who killed him." The Vietnamese figures inch forward, rifles ready but not raised. They are not rushing. They are not shouting. This is not an ambush. This is a standoff. Keen's voice rises from the tunnel. "Hold your fire. Not hostile yet." 2 wars in one clearing. The Americans crouch behind half-built pits, half-built walls, half-built defenses. The VC and the trees crouch behind full-grown jungle, each step silent. No one fires. No one speaks. Breaths clash in the humid air. For one moment, it's as if the war pauses, each side suddenly aware of how easily this situation could explode. One wrong twitch, one misunderstood shout, one panic shot. Everything ends. Mercer squints. One of the VC in the tree line, an older man with a weathered face and a scar across his cheek, locks eyes with him. There's no hatred in the look, just exhaustion, as if he's asking silently, "Do you know who you're standing on?" Below ground, a choice. No manual. Covers Keen, looks at the girl, then at the dying man beside her, then deeper into the tunnel. There's no weapon near them, no trap, no sign of an ambush, just desperation. He realizes what the tally-like carvings on the tunnel walls meant. This wasn't a military tunnel. This was a hiding place. He whispers, "We're getting out of here." The girl freezes, misunderstanding. Keen softens his voice. "I'm leaving. You stay." He holsters his .45, switches off the flashlight, and begins crawling back toward the entrance. The girl watches him go, shaking but silent. Just before he reaches the vertical shaft, he looks back one last time. The girl is kneeling beside the wounded fighter, gripping his arm with both hands. Keen climbs up. The exit. His head emerges through the square of earth. The squad instantly half carries, half pulls him out. He wipes mud and sweat off his face. It's civilians. A man and a little girl. Mercer blinks in disbelief. Civilians? Down there? Aranda swears under his breath. Weaver stares toward the tree line. Sarge, they know. The VC up there, they know we found their people. Keen nods once. Weapons down. No one moves. I said weapons down. Reluctantly, the squad lowers their rifles but keeps them ready at hips. Across the clearing, the VC squad sees the movement. They lower their rifles too, ever so slightly. A silent understanding. For 15 full seconds, Americans and Viet Cong stare at each other across the narrow jungle opening. No shouts, no threats, no commands. The VC leader steps forward a single pace. He doesn't raise his weapon. He doesn't aim. He simply nods once. A gesture of warning, a gesture of acknowledgement, a gesture of leave. This is not your place. Keen nods back. He signals his men. Pack your gear, we move. Now. The Americans withdraw, each step measured, slow, never turning their backs fully. The VC do the same on their side, shadows retreating into the foliage without a single word spoken. Within moments, the clearing is empty again, except for the unfinished tunnel, the spider hole, and the bamboo lid lying beside a hole that hides a wounded man and a terrified child. Both sides leave them there. Both sides know they will not survive long. War shows mercy in strange ways, and sometimes not firing a shot is the closest thing to humanity anyone gets. The walk away. As the squad moves deeper into the jungle, Aranda mutters, "We came to build a fighting position." Mercer finishes the thought. Instead, we found a grave. Keen keeps walking, eyes forward. We're done here. This ground belongs to someone else. And the jungle closes behind them, erasing their footsteps as if they were never there.